It was so close to it. Hey guys, it is Saturday morning, which means that today we are starting a new vlog because today I'm starting Read It Short. So Read It Short is a readathon I host every quarter, in which we basically spend one weekend reading as many short books as possible. It is always super open, so you can also definitely join even if you don't have short books or if you don't want to fit the theme, because typically I also put a theme when it comes to what we will be reading. Because of the simultaneous happening of Game Nightathon this year, the theme is just like 2 extra prompts that you can use, but actually there will be a third one, and the third one will be spun later today. So for this Read It Short, we have basically got 2 prompts at the moment. We've got this Band-Aid one, and then we've got this elaborate capybara dressed as a bunny cleaning a mirror one. So there are a lot of associations possible with that one, and there are certain things that I would like to get to. So one option was kind of like, maybe I'll fully dive into manga and try and read as many Spy X Family volumes as possible, or as many Witch-Hat Atelier ones as possible, because those are 2 manga series that I have started, and so it would be nice to continue on with those. Another option, the one that I actually had foreseen earlier on, was to reread Spindle Splinter in order to read the sequel, A Mirror Mended, and so that fits the Band-Aid and the mirror prompt so perfectly that probably that one would be preferable. So I think I'm gonna start with that. Now, for Game Nightathon, I have always been reading for one particular theme, and so now I want to be changing that up. Now I'm going to be spinning for every single thing that I read, and then when I read for that particular book, I know which theme that particular book belongs to. For Read It Short, there are no penalties. That is why I'm not just counting this for Team Heart, which is a theme that I'm currently reading for, because otherwise Team Heart would have basically like too many positive points and not enough negative points in relationship to other teams, and so that didn't really look very fair. So we're taking a break from reading specifically for one team for this particular readathon, and then we'll go back on Monday to reading for Team Heart and having the penalties as they usually are for a Game Nightathon. But so yes, I think that what I want to be starting off with is doing my first spin to figure out which team will be benefiting from the first of my books that I'll read. I haven't decided yet what will be the first thing that I read. Most likely, of course, it is going to be a Spindle Splinter. But so yes, we've got the wheel here. Ooh. Triangle! Okay, so Team Triangle gets my first read for this weekend, so I'll be starting with that. But actually what I'll be starting with is I'm gonna try and edit today's video, so the Team Triangle reading vlog, appropriate. I'm gonna try and edit that one through this morning before Daniela starts sprinting at 9 o'clock. So it gives me an hour and 10 minutes to try and edit that. If I'm done early, I could also potentially still start making my breakfast, because I do have the intention of making pancakes this morning. So, but otherwise I'll do those on sprint, and then I can potentially listen to an audiobook for that. I think I listened to Spindle Splinter in the past rather than physically have it. I mean, I definitely didn't physically have it, but rather than doing that as an ebook, I do think I listened to it. So we'll have to see. Maybe I'm misremembering that, but maybe I have access to an audiobook regardless. Hey guys, I'm coming at you at probably a little bit of a horrible angle, but I still haven't read. It is 1 o'clock already, but I thought I'd share my haul, because I did go into the city with a quest for matcha, basically. I have come back with bubble tea. This is lychee black tea bubble tea, which is basically my favorite bubble tea to get, and so I am going to be enjoying that in a minute now. But I also went to the grocery store. Some of these things are super practical and not that fancy at all. Some things might be more interesting. So I got lentil crisps. I'm trying to snack less,
but I love snacking, and especially I love crisps. So my idea was like, okay, let me get the lentil crisps, because at least those are a little bit more healthy, a little bit less calories. There's protein in there, so there's a benefit as well. Then I got some salmon and some cream cheese to put on top of some bagels, maybe for lunch today already. Then I got some chickpea spicy snacks to try, so it'll be a first time try. Got some pizza flavored bread type of snacky. So yeah, I say that I'm trying to snack less because I'm trying to basically pay attention to my weight, but all of this haul is basically snacks. Then I think the final sort of like actual snack is these dates that are flavored like caramel and popcorn. So it's supposed to be like an easier way to eat dates, to make them kind of taste like candy. I've had the sour peach before, and so this will be my first try of some others. Now I also got, which I'm not going to pull out, some oat milk, some coconut milk. And the reason for that is because I also want to be making my own matcha again. So I got back into matcha quite recently, and my matcha powder ran out, and so I've been debating buying some online all week, and in the end I just went to buy some. So this is ceremonial matcha, so that's the highest level of quality that matcha can have, and so hopefully I'll enjoy this one, so I can make my own matcha again. I also got some from another store. Where is it? There. So I also got some from the Sostrene Grene, because yeah, I was just doubtful that I was going to find it, because basically we have a tea shop that I was going to go to, and that tea shop was closed for their sort of like annual leave. And then I was like, okay, yeah, where am I going to find matcha? And so when I went into the Sostrene Grene, I was like, maybe they'll have matcha. I wasn't actually expecting to, but they definitely did. And then it was like, okay, am I going to find it somewhere else? I was really doubtful of that. And I knew a coffee shop that I could go to that potentially would have some matcha powder, but they're a lot further away. So I was like, oh, if I go there and then they don't have it, and then I have to come back here for matcha, I'll really be annoyed at myself. So in the end, I decided to buy it in the Sostrene Grene. And then I went to a shop that's basically in front of it, and that's where I found the other matcha. So stupid, I know, but okay. I will finish it eventually, though I am going to Japan in November, and I'm definitely expecting to buy some really good matcha over there. So, but yeah, you know, I have it in case. Maybe I can put that one in the office so that I can have some matcha when I'm in the office as well when I want to. Then we've got violet syrup. I don't know whether this will go well with matcha, because I've only had strawberry and mango matcha, but might as well give it a go, right? And then the final one is the more traditional strawberry syrups. And actually I was thinking that I also have peach syrup in my fridge already. I was thinking afterwards, so I can also give that a go with matcha. But so, in any case, that was it. That's what I just got in town. Main thing I needed was, of course, the matcha. But we have so much more now to snack on, and not all of it is unhealthy, so that is a plus, right? But so yes, I am now still not going to be reading. I'm going to be making my lunch, but I'm going to be making sort of like instant noodles, I think. So, you know, like something that's going to be super quick. I'm going to make those, eat those, and then you can finally dive into some actual reading for this Read It Short weekend. I know, what an idea. Crazy, right?
Alright guys, I have finished Spindle Splintered. I definitely did struggle with it a little bit more than the first time around, I feel like. I definitely had a little bit of struggles like with falling asleep in the beginning of reading it, but I am happy to have finished it again and to be able to go into the sequel. I don't know whether I will still do so within this weekend, but at least I've caught up again on like what exactly happens within the first book. So Spindle Splintered is a story about a girl who's basically terminally ill. She has contracted this rare disease that is basically a consequence of her mother being exposed to certain toxins in the water because of corporate spillage, and she and a couple of other kids in the neighborhood have contracted this terminal illness, and none of them have ever made it past the age of 22, and she has just turned 21. Now she is obsessed with the fairy tale of Sleeping Beauty, and when she's celebrating her 21st birthday, her best friend takes out a spinning wheel, and so when she pricks her finger on the spinning wheel, she is actually taken to a alternate reality where she meets a real life Sleeping Beauty. I like this story. I don't fully know for sure whether I like the resolution towards the end, but I do think that I'm more inclined to liking it than not liking it. It's just that it leans it's leaning pretty close to a trope that I absolutely hate when it comes to disability representation, that it just is a little bit difficult for me to wrap my head around and be like, yeah, I think I'm okay with this iteration of it, with this interpretation of it, but I'm not fully sure neither, because I have such negative feelings about the trope in general that it just like, it's so close to it all that I have this sort of like knee-jerk reaction of being like, But yes, I read that, so that is 119 points going to Team Triangle. And Team Triangle is in for a treat because I spun for my second book, and once again Team Triangle came up, so you must have given me loaded dice, because yeah.
What? You gave me loaded dice? He gave me loaded dice!
Team Triangle is already in the lead, and I'm gonna be contributing even more points to Team Triangle, so hopefully I'll still get some other teams as well tomorrow to read for, and hopefully like even it out a little bit. But yes, for that I am reading The Soul Catchers, I think it is, by Natsuo, and I've forgotten the last name. This is a healing fiction in which people who have just passed away are given the opportunity to have their soul transported into a inanimate object, and then most of the time, of course, they're choosing an object that is close to the people around them. So for example, there's this guy who's really obsessed with this one particular mug, and so his wife, when she passes away, decides to move her soul into that cup. And we will see stories mainly dealing with moving on, both for the person who has been left behind as for the person who has died, for them to realize that, you know, like, it is okay for their loved ones to move on, it's okay for their loved ones to find other people in their lives, and you know, also for some of them it is also about reflecting back on their life and, you know, taking value in the smaller things, in the things that really matter. There is one story in here that I've already been like, I think that this one doesn't translate very well to modern day Western culture, at least, because it's like a story of some guy who passes away, and he was already always obsessed with this one woman who worked in a library, and so he goes back and basically decides to have his soul placed in her name badge, and then he can basically kind of like lurk at her, as like, it basically, to me it felt like, you know, women cannot escape the male gaze even when the male gaze has passed away, you know. So that didn't really sit very well with me, that particular story. Just because, and there's also just like this line or something where he was like grateful to be allowed to inhabit her breasts or something like that, and I was like, yeah, sometimes when you're reading Japanese literature, there are these lines and these sentiments that really don't work, because I feel like, because like Japanese culture in a lot of ways is still very conservative and hasn't really opened up to a lot of these, like a lot of more like what progressive scenarios. Like there is no queer relationships within these stories, for example. Whether that means that it will become more open to these types of things, I don't know. Maybe it is already super open to these things. I'm just never reading about them in Japanese books. I would love to read queer Japanese literature, so definitely let me know if you know that it's out there, for example, because I'd be really interested in that. But so when you read some of these stories, there definitely are certain sentiments that just don't really fit in with my views or the Western more progressive views, but that's also normal because that's also why we're reading books from different cultures. It's to be exposed to different viewpoints, and that doesn't necessarily need to mean that every utterance from a different culture is automatically like an enrichment. It can definitely be something that you read and are like, yeah, I'm not like, that's not something I want to be taking away from. That's not something I want to be taking over from that society, but it is still an enrichment to your understanding of the world and your understanding of the way that other people think and all those types of things. With Japanese literature, a lot of the times the tone is very much sort of like more cold or distant, and definitely I feel like with this particular one that is to the extreme, and I don't think that I'm really enjoying the collection all that much because of it, but mainly just because the snippets are so short. So this is a audiobook that was maybe like 4 hours long or something like that, and I feel like I'm already on like the 9th story or something like that. So there really isn't much time or space given to any of these stories, and that's and that also means that a lot of these stories just don't have too much nuance, and that also means that a lot of these stories aren't really fleshed out. They don't have a ton of nuance. I think I would much rather have like 2 or 3 bigger stories than have so many different scenarios, so many different like potential combinations of who the person is who's passed away, who the people are who are being left behind, and circumstances and sentiments and whatever. I would rather have like less diversity when it comes to that, and just go a little bit more deeply into the few scenarios that we look at than what this book is doing, which is giving us a ton of different situations, a ton of different people to follow, a ton of different reactions to having passed away or to the other person having passed away. Because yes, there is strength in that, of course, to show the way in which grief differently impacts a lot of people, but also there isn't enough substance to all of those stories to actually say something meaningful about that. So yeah, I'm almost through with it. I only have like half an hour to listen to, and so it was definitely an easy thing to listen to, but I also feel like I could have just as well not listened to this and it would have made no difference, because I'm not gonna take anything away from my reading of this book. There's not really anything that's gonna stick with me about this book. There are no real lessons that I'm learning from this or new insights that I'm gaining from this. So on my end, I would say it's a pass, but I also have been somebody who has been struggling a little bit with healing fiction, and I think when it comes to this one, it's like worse than any others. On the one hand, it's not really repetitive, even though you have that same sort of premise for all of them, that somebody goes back and like inhabits an object. I do feel like they're distinguished enough from one another that you don't actually get the feeling of like been there, done that. But yeah, there is just no real substance to any of these stories. There is no time to give them substance, so it still feels pretty pointless as a result. I definitely feel like when we have one of these healing fictions that's maybe like 200 pages long, where there are like 5 people you're zooming in on, that is actually more worthwhile than this one, even though I probably didn't struggle as much with this one as I did with some of those healing fictions, from starting to feel like they were too formulaic and therefore like destroying my enjoyment of the book. With this one, I don't actually think I like, basically it's a little bit of a waste of my time. But on the other hand, I needed something while I was cooking, and I read and I listened basically to half of it while I was cooking, so it really wasn't much of a chore. And so yeah, easy pages for Team Triangle, I guess. Hello, it is the next morning. I have just finished Spy X Family Volume 1, so for Team Triangle, which now means that I've contributed 499 further pages to Team Triangle this weekend compared to their lead that they already had before the weekend. So I'm instituting a new rule, which is basically that I have to read a maximum of 3 books per team until I read 3 for every team, I guess, but I mean, honestly speaking, that's definitely not gonna happen. I'm definitely not reading 9 more books today, you know, that would be crazy. But in any case, we are gonna try and read some more for some other teams. And the way that we're gonna do that is manga, of course. That's gonna be the only way in which I'm gonna be able to read more than enough for some of these other teams to kind of bridge the gap a little bit and get them up to speed a little bit, because yeah, Team Triangle was already winning and now I've just extended their lead for them. But so yes, I enjoy Spy X Family. I will say that I was definitely like feeling like this volume is way bigger than I realized. Like, it is 220 pages. It does have 4 sort of like missions in the volume. So I don't know whether I'm gonna be able to like binge read all through them. I'll probably need quite a few breaks in between there, but I do like it. It's like a story of a spy who basically sent on a mission for which he needs to gather a fake family in order to infiltrate an academy and be able to, you know, like approach this very what do we want to say, that isolated figure who basically only appears very occasionally in functions that have to do with the school. And so he basically finds a child and a wife, and the child is basically telepathic, but she's hiding that from him, and the wife is basically an assassin and she's also hiding this from him. So yes, I enjoy it a lot, but it definitely is something that I also to some extent need some time with, so we'll see, and potentially like switch out between Witch Hat Atelier and Spy X Family could also be an option. But so we are gonna do another spin. As just indicated, if Team Triangle comes up, then I am going to respin because I am not going to be doing that. But you know, that would be like really would be the odds. Not okay. Alright, Circle. That's actually nice as well because I think Circle is the team. Circle is the team that is the closest to Team Triangle at this point in time, so giving them a little bit of a boost can actually create some tension when it comes to the final results, right? So that is going to be the next thing that I read, and I think I'll actually already do a spin because I think I can safely say I'm going to read 2 more things, especially since I was going to watch The Odyssey at 11 today, and it is sold out again. So I have this, basically I have like a subscription to independent cinemas throughout Belgium. And so with that subscription, because it's not from the cinema itself, it means that I cannot really make a reservation ahead of time. So I can only like go there an hour ahead of the time in which the movie is going to be showing, and then I can already get my ticket, but not earlier than that. And with the popularity of The Odyssey, and probably the fact that it was announced in like Belgian media that this cinema is one of the only cinemas that basically shows The Odyssey in Belgium on like the old projector, so it is the 35mm format, so the standard cinema format, but on an old actual projector. And so it was there was this article about how quite a few cinemas are bringing back these old projectors for The Odyssey, and so this cinema is one of the cinemas that was featured in that article. So I am guessing that that is part of the reason why this has always been sold out thus far. So I might actually have to go to like a late night showing for it, but it's a 3-hour long movie. I need to stay awake for it, so we'll see. It is showing some more times. It is showing tomorrow at 8 in the evening, for example. I'll see about it because I basically prefer not to go at 8 in the evening. I typically go at like the afternoon slots or the 5 o'clock slot, and now it's like, yeah, I mean, there's only one more 5 o'clock slot currently scheduled for The Odyssey on the old projector, so yeah. And also I'm like, I could buy my ticket ahead of time because I really do want to see it, but on the other hand, like, I can get it for free in my subscription fee. So I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be paying for this ticket when I can technically go for free if it weren't for the fact that there's always so many people going. And this normally is like a non-issue, because I know a lot of people are probably like, yeah, that sucks, and it does to some extent suck. But it really isn't an issue all that often. So I have never been to the cinema where it was already sold out. I have had a few cases where, like this, it was like a special showing and maybe somebody was coming to discuss the movie afterwards, for example. And in those cases it was also always sold out, so I couldn't do it. But most of the times when I want to see a movie, then whenever I want to see it, whichever date or hour I choose, it is always available, except maybe if I want to go like the very first day, which it is in the cinema. But so yes, we shall do another spin to see what my next read is gonna be for. So this we ignore, right? Team triangle, sorry. For statistics purposes, you can see that you would have been there again, but nope. That's Team Diamond. Okay. So the next thing that I finish will go for Team Circle, and the thing that I finish after that will go for Team Diamond. So it's good to know we have 2 more teams getting some points. This continues the streak of me not earning points for Team Heart. They will definitely be there by the end of this readathon, but Team Heart is basically the only team for which I don't have any scores registered yet, so it would have been nice to have some scores for them during Read It Short, but I mean, the day isn't over yet, it can definitely still happen. So yeah, we'll see what I end up choosing for Team Circle and Team Diamond now, but I'm gonna go and grab myself some leftovers of the breakfast that I made yesterday, so some more pancakes. Alright guys, it is almost 5 o'clock. I have finished Spy Family Volume 2, so that one has gone to Team Circle, if I can remember correctly, right? And then I've also finished She and Her Cat. Don't remember the names because there were 2 authors. I think one of them was Makino and the other one might be Natsuo, but I'm not entirely sure of that anymore. But so, I finished that audiobook. That is going to Team Diamond. I've also spun for my next prompt. It's gone to Team Diamond, so, sorry, my wheel has something against Team Heart, it seems like. We'll do another spin after this update, and hopefully it'll finally go to Team Heart, because these poor guys. But so, yeah, I did definitely enjoy this one. I think I ended up giving it a 3-star rating, and I think that is probably a little bit, like, strict, but also, like, it isn't a book that totally, like, it's not gonna be super memorable for me after this, but I definitely did really enjoy it, and I think it's definitely one of the sort of like better ones within the sort of like healing fiction genre. I wouldn't necessarily say it is, I mean it is kind of healing fiction, okay, and it does follow that structure of multiple short stories, multiple interconnected short stories, and I feel like these interconnect better than some others do, because in a lot of other collections, like the interconnecting side of things is sort of like certain elements coming back, or seeing a character within another storyline. But here we do also learn more about the other characters within the storylines, and characters inhabit each other's world and start to become part of each other's stories as well as we go through the stories within this collection. This is always a story told from 2 perspectives, told from the perspective of the human and told from the perspective of the cat. In some cases the cat will be the pet, in other cases the cat will be like a stray that has grown attached to them, or just like a cat who's taking over the role of another pet that has passed away. There are different types of stories within here, and I guess what I enjoyed as well is that like within the story itself, it doesn't necessarily always resolve itself, though some of those things do get resolved later on as we go through other stories within the collection. There is trigger warning for sexual assault within this collection as well, so do be wary of that. But so yes, I enjoyed it, and even though this isn't sort of like a love letter to cats, I definitely enjoyed this approach to the cat perspectives. I've had some issues in the past with, for example, Will Prescribe You Cat. In that one I did not enjoy the portrayal of the cats, in this one I definitely did enjoy it. And yeah, I had a good time with this book. It's not going to be my favorite cat book, it's not going to be my favorite Japanese healing fiction, but I had a good time with this one, and this was once more one for the success column, which when it comes to healing fiction, it has become more difficult for a book to get on my success side, because I've just not really been vibing with a fair few of them in recent years, and so this one is one that I did really get along with well. So I have downloaded since the 3rd volume of Spy Family. And that is already started. I'm some 18% into that one, and I think I'm gonna listen to like an audiobook called Gifted by Suzuki Suzumi, which is under 100 pages, and that's going to be potentially the final book for Read It Short. Who knows, maybe I can squeeze in another one, but in any case, what we definitely need is a theme for one of these, because the next book that I finish will be for Team Diamond. It's still on my screen over here, by the way, but let's spin again to see where we're going with the next one. It was so close to it. Team Circle, it really was like at the edge of Team Heart there for a second. So yeah, sorry Team Heart, still not it, still not for you guys. I will have to absolutely make up for the rudeness of this wheel in the week to come, but also it's gonna be 4 remaining work days, and so maybe I should, with that in mind actually, I should definitely be reading for Team Heart until the end of the month, because they actually are the one team that does not get a weekend day in the schedule, right? I am not reading for them during a weekend day, and you know, a day like today is exceptional because I definitely don't read this amount of pages normally in a day. It's just because of reading short books and being like focused on reading for as many teams as possible that I'm getting through this amount of pages. But regardless, the weekend is the type of day which I'll get the most pages done. So I was kind of thinking like I couldn't really read for Team Heart the final day of July, but now I'm like, no, actually I should, because at least then they have a few hours extra to compensate for the fact that I have only work days that I've only read for them on work days. And so yes, I am going to make work of finishing Spy X Family Volume 3, trying to finish Gifted. This is going to be my audiobook listen while I'm preparing my dinner, and then I do actually think that I should still have time to read something else, and please, please, please God, let that be Team Heart. I now have 3 for Team Triangle. I've spun Team Diamond twice, I've read one of those, I still need to read the second. Spun Team Circle twice now, read one of them, need to read the second. So, you know, honest to God, it is time for this wheel to end up on Team Heart, right? But in principle, with my rule of a maximum of 3 per team, it is still possible for it to land on Diamond or Circle, and then I'll still have to read for it because, yeah, it'll still be legally allowed under the new regulation, right? But so yes, my apologies in the name of my wheel. Alright guys, I need to make this a very fast update because I'm still sprinting against time to try and get as many pages into the day as possible. Yesterday now feels like a little bit of a waste of time because, I mean, I don't know how many pages it will be today, but it's gonna be a ton in the end. Of course, a lot of those are also manga pages. So I read volume 3 of Spy X Family, which is the first volume that it's not a reread, but it's the first time read. I really enjoy Spy X Family a lot. I think what I really enjoy about it, it has these like super super dramatic type of things that is like quite typical to Japanese dramas, for example, but it's also like super aware of what it's doing, and it has like a very self-aware type of humor that I really enjoy about it. Then I read Gifted by Suzumi Suzuki, and I don't know what I feel about that one yet. So that is a story about a fraught daughter-mother relationship, basically. Her mother has recently moved into with her daughter. However, their time together has been very short because her mother was basically on her deathbed and so has now moved to hospital. And so her daughter is going to visit her whenever possible, but their relationship is also fraught due to past circumstances and past harm. There is definitely abusive mother-daughter relationship within this story, and both of these women also have a sort of like, I don't know, more difficult history, I guess, because both of them were working in the entertainment industry, and so it's also looking at their experiences there. And you know, you get what you ask for, because I now had mentions of the gay sector and definitely had very different representations of women in Japan, and so I'm very eager, I mean very happy to have had this different type of representation. This sort of like hostess culture and all those things are things that are very, you know, like unfamiliar to me. I don't know too much about the vocabulary that is involved or the customs, and so this is definitely a book written for the Japanese people, so you definitely don't get that background when it comes to that, but I also don't really necessarily think that you need all of that or anything like that. But yeah, I definitely feel like there's a lot in this book. It deals a lot with sort of like self-harm on the side of this duo, but also on the side of other people in their environments, and so on destructive behavior. While not necessarily, you know, it's not written in a like as a drama or a tragedy or anything like that. It's dealing with those aspects in a very sort of like neutral, everyday type of way, which is, I guess, the way that you would feel about these things if they are happening around you all of the time. But so I did find this book a fascinating read and a very interesting read, and a side of Japanese literature that I don't get to explore all that often, and definitely what I want to explore more. I want more of a different sides of Japanese culture. I feel like healing fiction very often gives a sort of like a very curated look at Japanese culture and society, very much showing us the image of Japan that we all come to expect. And so books like these give a little bit of a more of an intimate, I guess, look into Japan, looking at like more of the real Japan, I guess, that is like not afraid to look at the less pretty picture side of Japan, I guess. But so yes, time to do a spin. Team Heart. It's gotta be, right? It's absolutely got to be, right? So we left off with Team Circle as the last one that got points. Well, that one we can respin. Yeah, so Team Triangle, but that one we can respin because I've already read 3 books for Team Triangle. Come on. It's not gonna do it. It's gonna give Circle. Oh, I mean, what do I do with that? Because part of me wants to break my own rules here, right? But on the other hand, like... do I really want to do that? I set these rules. I already introduced that exception of like 3 books per team to avoid me only reading for Team Triangle the entire weekend, basically. But it definitely is the case that I'm not going to be able to, you know, like, one book I still have in me. I still have it in me to read 1 book tonight, but honestly speaking, I probably won't for Team Circle. My apologies. Because I feel like at this point in time I kind of am done with reading, but the only thing that could motivate me to still try and finish something in today is to make sure that Team Heart also gets something. On the other hand, if I go to sleep right now, I can go to bed, I can go to bed early, I can wake up early, I can get some further pages in for Team Heart for the regular vlog for gamenightathon, and so I can make up for it that way, I guess, as well. Because in principle, you know, I am really in the middle of 2 books for them. I will, if I still fit in a 3rd book, I can still get a decent score for Team Heart as well in the upcoming week. It'll just be a score that does have some penalties linked to it. But I can also maybe make my choices more wisely for the upcoming remainder of the week, you know. Read a little bit more sort of like mangas that I can get through quicker. Of course, I'll have the page count penalty, of course I'll have the penalty for moving the stuff around on the board, but that will still be like an easier way to rack up the points, because I'll be getting through the pages more quickly if I go through it like that. So there are ways for me to make up for the rudeness of read it short, and so I kind of feel like I should this is just what the gods have intended. This is why I should have just gone with reading something for every single team, and then like once I'd read something for every single team, start over again or something like that, and just leaving it up to fate entirely, or more or less entirely up until the point where it was starting to look like fate wanted me to only read for Team Triangle. It was a risky maneuver apparently, but so yes, I don't know yet whether I will still read something. I might leave it up to debate, though then I also think that it's definitely gonna be like, I mean, who's gonna say that I shouldn't read for Team Heart now, right? So then I definitely will still be reading today, so I don't know. On the one hand, I feel like might be more interesting to just let fate do its thing, stop here for tonight, and just continue on reading for Team Heart for the rest of the week, and you know, put some extra pressure on that reading to try and catch up to it. So maybe that is gonna be what I end up deciding to do, because honestly speaking, I have been awake since 4 o'clock this last night, because I didn't really have an amazing sleep. I felt like I was having like I was getting like a urinary tract infection, so I basically spent most of the morning on the toilet. Glamorous, I know. So I've been awake for a very long time. It would definitely benefit me to go to sleep now. I am still definitely awake enough that I could read, but maybe when I know that I'm no longer able to fit in a read for Team Heart today still, that might also mean that the tiredness is gonna immediately come back to bite me. So I think it's probably smart to say that we're ending things here. I had this little overview that I made over on Discord of all the books that I read, or like all the points that I earned for Read It Short for the different teams, and so REP, Team Broken Heart, you know, better luck next year with Read It Short and gamenightathon, but who knows whether there'll be even teams next year when I do gamenightathon again. But so, fingers crossed, I'm going to do my absolute best for you guys. By the time you're seeing it, there are 3 evenings left for me to read for you guys, and I'm gonna do my absolute best to make sure that I'm reading the heck out of those 3 evenings. And hopefully I've already made quite some progress in my reading in the first 2 days, because yeah, it's needed. This is the like spank on my bottom that I need in order to get myself moving to read for Team Heart, because I did not see this one coming. But so yeah, let me know whether you took part in Read It Short, or whether you're just sticking to gamenightathon, and whether you had a great time during the weekend, whether you were participating or not. And hopefully I'll see you guys for the next video. Bye!